Hey, it's Jason from Bohemia Bees, and it's about 50 degrees outside here on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, maybe a little less, but hovering just under that 50-degree cut point where we've got some packages that are left over from our package pickup that we need to get installed. They can't stay in these packages for much longer. On this video, we're going to talk about what we do here at Bohemia Apiary to try to give each one of these an edge to be able to survive when you have to do an install in cold weather. Stay tuned, you're going to want to watch this one. So you've got your package of bees. You're going to install them, and you get them on a Wednesday. You look at the weather, and you're like, "Wait a minute here. It's 50 degrees or less. What do you do?" You've got to think of a way to install those bees so that they have the best chance for survival. Bees in the wintertime, when the temperature is below 50 degrees, they go into a state of torpor when they're in the outside air, or the ambient temperature outside is 50 degrees or less. Torpor is, for us, is like sort of like a frozen state. Their exoskeleton and everything that's inside their exoskeleton sort of kind of just seizes up, almost like your muscles seizing up, right? So that torpor is not good for those bees, because if they stay out in that state of cold weather for a prolonged time and cannot get back to that warm cluster of bees, they will perish. So what we do, and what bees do in the wintertime, is they cluster in a bowl inside the colony. Imagine this, as we've taught before in our other videos, this being a beehive where bees are inside of a ball of bees, which will allow them to keep warm. They shiver, they keep around the queen in the center, keep the brood's nest at 93 degrees, so she's continuing to lay as she's coming out of a cold winter month. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take those packages of bees, which is really a colony of bees. It's really not even an established colony yet. It's just 3 pounds of bees that are shaken into a box with a queen that's not theirs, that has to be introduced, so she's in a queen cage. So there's several factors that we have to worry about when you're installing a package in the cold weather below 50 degrees. And we're going to show you how a couple different options. We're going to try to do it here on the Eastern Shore of Maryland to give the best success rate possible. We got 3 different setups, and we're going to talk to you about what those look like here in just a second. Okay, so you can see here at Bohemia Apiary, we have a couple different hive styles that we've used through the years with different setups. It's a traditional Langstroth style, which is that sort of box style that you typically see with a beehive. We've got a couple different ways we're going to attempt to take the 3 packages we have left over, install them in 3 different ways, so that you can see how we're going to try to get the survivability of those 3 packages through these next week or two when the cold weather is again below 50. Let's talk through the couple options that we're going to try today. We're going to try a traditional setup using traditional components. We're going to modify it a little bit on a traditional setup because most beekeepers don't always have this exact equipment. You'll see that in a couple of these other pieces. But we're going to show you what we're going to use to kind of give these bees a chance or an advantage here as they kind of move forward. The first thing is really just a deep box. We've got a screened bottom board, a slatted rack, which I'll put a link in the description below as to what that is and why that would be important even at this point in time. A standard deep pine box that's been painted. We have an inner cover that's used by or produced by a company called Bee Smart Designs. It's foam insulated, okay, and concave on the inside. We're going to show you how that works and why we're using that. And of course, we've got a top box to put a feeder in, because the key with these bees is they're not going to be able to forage. They need to have direct access to food, whether that's the sugar syrup or frames of honey or something to give them that edge that they need to be survived through the next few weeks, because they're not going to be able to go gather those resources. And in that package, they actually came with a small amount of food that they're eating right now. And you'll see when we put these in, we might even reuse some of that syrup in a feeder or somewhere else within these colonies. The second setup that we're going to use is an Apimae. This is a polymer hive. It has top feeders, and this is actually a nuke setup for Apimae that we're going to use. And we're going to use this because of the R value, the benefit of that. The standard pine box is good. Naturally, there's some elements of the Bee Smart designs that are helpful for that, but this is a fully, the core of this, the outside walls, the frames of the box are all polymer, and it has a cavity to help the R value for these. So that'll give them a little bit of an edge with the cold weather, we believe, over the next few days, and see if that package does better than the other ones. The last step, we're using an existing hive. So down here, this blue hive that you see is a colony that's been here, that's established in the apiary. It's overwintered. It's actually coming out of winter pretty strong. So they're producing, you can see a couple bees just peeking out saying, hey, what's going on? Even though it's 50 degrees, they're pretty strong. So they're gonna come out and try to check us out and see what we're doing. So we're gonna actually take, and we're gonna use something called a double screen board. And a double screen board is something that you see here that's going to be placed on this colony that allows the heat from the colony below it to rise up through this screen to the colony above it. That'll help them as well. And we'll put it so the entrance is facing the other direction. So you literally could have two colonies stacked on one on top of each other, right? One going this direction and one coming and going out of the other direction. We're also going to use a box, a new style box that's made by Premier. It's just the type of joining and craftsmanship of this box that Premier has come out with this year. We'll do a separate video on this, but this is their Premier hive that allows their propola hive that actually has the inside texture of the box that's been scored much like the cavity of a tree. Again, I'm not going to get too much into that on this video. This is a wax dip box from Nature's Image Farm. It's proprietary process that they use to wax dip the propola produced hives from Premier. And that's called the Endura hive. So this is actually an Endura hive body. We'll have a video about this also later here in the season that talks about the uniqueness of this product and why we're going to test it out here in our apiary, see how well it does, because we think it'll have some good benefits. Naturally, we have a good solid lid to that, and we're gonna do something with all of these, and that's put a frame of honey. We're going to put a frame of honey that we have left over from another colony that maybe didn't make it, that had some extra, that we didn't harvest. We're going to put that in the colony. You'll see it'll be unique of where we place that on each one of these, so that it gives them a good chance of having that immediate resources next right by. The colonies or the packages are in the shop in the warm weather, about 75 degrees in that shop. So they're loving life right now, but they're about to come outside to 50 degrees. So we're not going to bring them out and do a traditional install. We're not going to do the shake method. We're not going to just dump them all in them and fly about, because remember earlier I said about torpor. And torpor is, those bees will essentially land on the side of that hive and go into a state of torpor, which prevents them from continuing to move and get back in the hive, and they potentially could perish. So we're going to do a slow release, and which is what we would recommend you do if you get your packages on a cold day here in the spring, anywhere you may be at in the country. So these are the three setups we're going to do. Let's follow along. We're going to do each setup individually. We'll go get a package, we'll bring it out, we'll install it, and we'll close it up, and we'll move to the next one. So stay tuned. Again, you're not going to want to miss this one, because it's going to be a couple helpful tips on how you can actually install your packages on cold weather. Stay tuned. So we've got our packages of bees. You can see how tightly they're clustered up on this side around that queen cage. It's attached with a strap here in this traditional package setup. There has been some casualties on the bottom. Bees, unfortunately, that's the nature of beekeeping. When you have a package of bees that's transported in this manner, this is really the only way that you can get bees in this area early, is via packages. So you will have a few casualties of bees on the bottom, but we're going to go ahead and put these in here and do a slow release. The way we're going to set this up is we're going to set these just out of the way so they're not in the wind. And I'm going to show you what we set up the hive with over here. So in this hive, we've got a screen bottom board, a slatted rack. We've put the mite tray, the corrugated mite tray that you see here that comes with the Bee Smart bottom boards and most screen bottoms. We put this in because we want to naturally keep some of that temperature in the colony through these cold days. We've got a deep box with a unique setup. We've got 4 frames in here. No more than 4 frames. If you want to put some foundation over here, you'll see in a minute what'll take this box up, but you're really giving them a buffer of comb on the left side, a frame of honey. This is a full frame of honey, heavy. It's full of capped honey. Then you have a buffer with empty comb here and a buffer with empty comb here. So there's really 4 frames that we're setting up in in this box, putting that right on the screen or the slider rack and screen bottom board. Moving that to the side. We're going to take our package now. We're going to set that up here. We're going to pry off the lid first. Now in a package, they typically will not have they'll have the can in there, so they won't have to worry about the bees flying out immediately. But you're going to want to pull that lid off, the cap off, so you can reuse it. Okay, so you can see there's a can right here. This has feed in it, and their queen's attached to this strap. So I'm going to loosen the actual strap that has the queen attached to it, because we're going to pull her out and inspect her to make sure she's still alive, which she should be. But and in order to get the bees to the bottom to pull this out, I'm going to give it a quick tap to drop them to the bottom. And when I do that, you hold on to your strap, take your can, work it out. Do not drop your queen in there. All right? And I'm going to put this lid back on after I pull my queen out, because they're going to start to fly around. And I'm looking in this cage, and what I see are my queen still running around in there. She's still running around, and I have some attendants in there with her, which is going to be helpful. So we'll come around and show you what that looks like. If you can see in here, there's some in there in that cage. There's some fondant on this side. We're going to pull the cork out of this end piece right here so that they can start to release her. It's been since Sunday since they shook these packages, so there should be good to start to release her out. So you want to completely pull that cork out and have that plug of fondant accessible. Let's set her to the warmth of our pocket for a moment. I'm just knocking some bees off, taking that can of syrup, setting that to the side, right? And instead of dumping these bees in here, I'm going to take this and I'm going to set it in against the frame, just like that. And before I do that, I'm going to cut a way for the bees to get out using a knife. Now that's not a traditional install. I'm doing that because I'm going to bend that back in just a second to allow the bees to walk out on the combs and the honey that's next to them, to give them, I'm just running my knife along the top of that and then down the sides. Only doing a little bit. Once I have that set down like that, I can come in here and bend some of that back. Now they may fly up, which is fine. Naturally, you can want to smoke them a little bit. All right. And now I'm going to take that queen out, and I'm going to put her on a frame right next to the hive, just like this. So you're going to take her, and I'm going to press her down on that wax right here so that they can get access to the screen like you see here, okay? And then I'm going to set her right next to that package. And I'm bending that foam back, or the screen back, so that they start to kind of maneuver out and get near her. All right. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that lid off the top of that box so that they can start to move out and cluster up next to that queen. The first thing they're going to want to do is come out and cluster as a ball around that queen. We're going to leave these in here for at least a couple days, a day or two, maybe 3. We're also going to put a fondant patty like you see here, next to, or break it in half next to the holes. So that they have some additional food until. You see them all right there? And I'll show you what the setup looks like here. All right. Now we're going to put our lid on, like you see here. This is the Bee Smart insulated inner cover. And I can see down in there that they have an opening that we're going to put feed on, that we mix up. This is 1-to-1 sugar, equalizing the pressure so that it doesn't drip down on the bees. And we'll put that right over this hole. Okay. We're going to take our box to cover it. Put a lid on. And we are installed the first package. All right. So these now will be set up in here for a few days to ensure that they are, I'm going to take this actually and use it for another one. But they're good to go for a few days, and then we'll come back and check on them probably within 2 days, see if they've released the queen, if she survived, if they've moved out of the package, remove the package box out, and we might do that in a follow-up video. Let's move along to the next one, which is the Apimaye nuke. So the Apimaye nuke, again, the benefits of this are to allow us to use the R value of the Apimaye hives. And so we're taking these feeders off. We have the standard Apimaye 7 frame that we're going to have, a frame that we're going to put in here, the buffer. Okay, as the buffer. And for her to start to go out and lay on if they choose because of the drawn comb. Our package is going to go in there. We're going to get another frame of honey. There's another frame of heavy honey we're going to put next to that. And then we have a frame of comb that we're going to push the queen into, and then push them together. Hopefully that package will fit right in that one side. We'll be right back. We're going to go get the other package. Okay, so we took out one of the frames because we looked at our package that we're bringing in here and it looks like it's a little wider than we thought. Let's go ahead and pull our cover off. That came off easier. And I'm pulling that small piece of staple off because what I don't want to do is be able to set that lid on there and then all of a sudden they, it closes it and they want to rush out. So again, in a traditional package install, you would remove that lid, you would spray down them with wet syrup, 1-to-1. I'm not doing that because it's 50 degrees out and I don't want to chill them, make them wet, make it more of a detriment to them. So I'm really trying to take as much or as least invasive of an install process as I can. Again, a slow release and so forth. So now that I have the package set up, I'm going to do a quick tap. I'm going to pull that can out, as I did before, pull the queen out, put her in my pocket, kind of go from there. So here's a quick tap. Make sure you grab your queen. That was my fault. I almost lost her inside. And my lid. And get my queen. Shake the bees off. Close them up for a second. Looking at my queen. And we got a problem. Houston, we got a problem. My queen did not make this. It looks like there's a little life in her, but we're going to go ahead and pull the cork, put her in. In a scenario where your queen is not alive still, you'll want to go ahead and get a replacement queen from us or where you got your packages from. All right, so that's beekeeping. Here's the deal. This queen is dead as a doornail. I could put them in here and get a replacement queen, but remember, what ends up happening is that we're on a downward slope as it is. My next opinion is to combine these colonies. Check the other package, make sure my queen's alive, install it in the traditional format, and combine the packages. There's likely that I'm not going to be able to get a queen in enough time to be able to replace her, which means that unfortunately I'm just dealing with bee livestock. I'm not dealing with a live queen that could actually give me any kind of a value add, and that's a shame. So that's what happens in beekeeping. You got to be able to audible. If that happens to you, what I would recommend is that you contact your person you bought your bees from, myself if you bought them from me, or other place that you might have got them from, and get a replacement queen. You don't want to have them go too long without a replacement, because what ends up happening is they tend to then at that point create a laying worker or a situation where they start to go, they panic. If you have the ability to take a frame of eggs from another colony and stick it in, you can do that. In fact, that's what I'm going to actually do. So here on Bohemia Apiary, we're audibling again. I'm not going to combine. I'm going to take this livestock that's here and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to get a frame of eggs or brood from another colony and slide it in here. Won't be able to do that today because I'm not cracking into another hive. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this one and we're going to install it in here, slow release. Let's get some food on these girls, so they have something to survive with. I'm going to go ahead and pull my lid off. Okay. Put my feeders on. And I'm going to fill, make sure the feeders are set in the apiary the right way. And I'm going to fill one of these feeders with syrup from the cans. Remember I said before, you can reuse this. So take your can, I'm using that to feed them. I'll let that drain down. Let's move on to getting this colony set up. This will take a couple more steps because we're going to have to lift the lid off the other colony and put the screen, the double screen board on, like you see here. See, good colony, heavy, good resources on them. We're going to put our double screen board right on top with the notch facing on the top side. And when we put our box, that'll be the new entrance. But the heat that these bees will generate from the cluster through that hole will help establish the bees that are in the top box. So we'll take our top box, which is that Propola hive, the Endura hive from Nature's Image Farm. We'll set it on top. Pull our lid off. Let's put some frames in. That's what we did before. We put a frame of comb for a buffer. Put another frame of comb for a buffer and for them to start to lay. I'm going to get my frame of honey. Set that down in there. Another one. Again, 4 frames is sufficient for now. Let's go back and get our package. We'll be right back. Okay, so we got our package. Same condition as you've seen before, some dead ones on the bottom. We're going to take our lid off. Set it to the side. Do a quick tap. Actually, I'm going to leave that staple on for a minute, or at least keep it. And I like to pull the staples off because when you go to set that lid on, they will still come rushing out if they are they got a little gap. So it just helps keep them in there until you're ready to let them be released. As I do this, I think back to when I first started beekeeping. I got my first package like this, and how I was suited up. I'll show you a picture. This is what it looked like. I looked like I was dressed to go to Chernobyl. And then over the years, you learn different techniques and different things about how to keep bees and when to wear your suit, when not to wear your suit. So definitely neat to see that transition. Holding on to my queen. Quick tap. Yep, my queen's alive in there. Just trying to get the can on this side, get this on this side to pull it out. Sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate, and the bees crawl right back on it again. So there we go. Like they started to build some comb. All right, let's put that lid on. Put my veil on. So this queen looks good. As you can see, she's very strong, got her attendants in the cage. So I'm going to push these off into the and put her in my pocket till I'm ready. Syrup. And we're going to take the package. I'm not going to cut the screen this time. I'm just going to put them in. And I'm going to push the frames. drawn comb and honey up close to it. And then get my queen back out, pull the plug out on the fondant side. Smoke every once in a while. Make sure the fondant is clear. Okay, good queen. I'm gonna take her, put her right in here in the wax so she doesn't fall, and they'll come out and build up close to her, but you can see her in that frame. Okay, set her in here just like that. Then I'm going to take my fondant, score it, additional food for them. Okay. Let's take a picture so you can see this setup. This is called a screen inner cover. I'm actually not going to use that this time. I'm going to take my put that on. Actually, so instead of putting syrup on this one, we're very fortunate to have a box of honey. I pulled from the apiary. So if you're fortunate enough to have honey left over that you didn't harvest from a dead out or something like that, we're going to put that on top so that we can give them some food right directly above it. Then we're going to put on our top cover, put our brick on. Now she's good to go. We're going to finish putting the syrup in these cans. All right, close them up. Okay, folks, there you have it. That is our approach to installing bees when it's cold weather. Again, we started off this video talking about how we're going to have 3 packages that we needed to get installed. It's the mid to late March here on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. It's 50 degrees today. You can see the weather is not that great out. Luckily, the wind is not in here today, and it is 50 degrees and not like 40 degrees like it was yesterday. The temperatures at night are still getting low, but they're gradually getting better. But when you have bees that are coming from another area, they're being shipped in, you can't leave them in the package. As you saw with this middle colony here, we lost our queen on that one. We're going to take a frame of eggs, brood from another colony, a stronger colony here over the next 2 or 3 days, and stick it in there to see if they can make a queen. Otherwise, we'll get a queen. We're not breeding queens yet here on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, so I don't have any live mated queens that I could put in there. We could also merge that colony with another colony. So if one of these 2 that we installed, the big one here over in the double screen board hive, or the Bee Smart hive over here, if one of these 2 get too weak or they really can't make it, then we might combine one of them with others to help bolster them. So that could be an option as well. But as a beekeeper, that's really kind of my point, is that you never know what's going to happen when you're keeping bees. You never know when things are going to go not how you planned them per se. So you have to think about what's best for the bees, think about how you sustain a queen-right colony in your apiary, what steps need to be taken to help the survivability of those colonies, both throughout the normal season as well as in the cold winter months, and then really the full year. You have to be the stewards of your bees. It's your responsibility to find the best way to give them the best advantage possible. They're going to be bees. The bees are going to do bees as bees do bees. So they'll do what they want to do, but you're going to try to help them along, because we're putting them in a non-native traditional environment. We're putting them in a box, not letting them live, in the trees and in cavities of trees where they traditionally do live. So that's why we have to give them the best advantage possible with the fondants that you saw in there, the extra frames of honey, the extra super of honey like you saw on the top of this one over here. It's really just a little bit to do a little bit to get them through when the nectar flow kicks in here. The pollen flow is good, and it's a little warmer out. So with that being said, appreciate everyone watching. Make sure you like or hit the like button if you want. I mean, you don't have to, but we really like it when you do that. It helps us out a lot. It helps kind of bring our videos to the forefront of the beekeeping community, or those that are out there. If you found this information valuable, hitting that like, putting a comment below, supporting us, subscribing to the channel helps move our videos to where people that are beekeepers or new beekeepers that may relate to me or may be in my region, or if you're just fascinated by bees, helps bring those videos to the forefront of the algorithm on YouTube, so that we can continue to share the experiences we have here on the Eastern Shore of Maryland when we install bees. We did a lot of things to help these colonies along. We have the Bee Smart design setup back here. That's your traditional setup, that if you bought a colony of bees from us, and you bought really a setup, we call it the Bohemia Bees setup. I'll put a link in the description below of that setup, as well as the Apame, which we also are going to be a future dealer of Apame. Our value on those are phenomenal. So that also, we use those in our apiaries. You can see I have one behind me back here that overwintered very nicely. We have a whole cart of them, of about 20 colonies that overwintered very nicely. We'll do a video probably here in the next month or so on that as well. And then of course we've got this unique setup like we have here, which is a double screen board over a strong colony. That also just a different technique. We've done a couple things to help the bees along, but as you can see here at Bohemia Apiary, we like to try different things. We'd like to look at new innovative ideas, whether it's the Bee Smart Designs equipment, whether it's the Apame equipment, or maybe it's the Queen Right Dial, right? Or a long hive down there. So horizontal hives down there from Ricky Rourke and team. And then we like to do a lot of different things here at Bohemia Apiary. These are really our test yard. We've got other yards with our other colonies, but we really want to try new innovative products to help the bees. It's just what we like to do. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, like, subscribe, share, do what you feel you need to do. And stay tuned here for another episode on the Bohemia apiary, here where beekeeping is more than a hobby. It's an obsession. Thanks for watching, everyone.